Good morning, makers, and welcome to another edition of Saturday Morning Craft Along. I'm your host, Agnes, and I just want to wish everyone a very happy Halloween. Today is the day. And you know what? If you don't have a costume yet, don't worry, we've got you covered. Today we're going to be making these adorable little cat ears, and we're going to be using one of my favorite materials, sheep's wool. So we're going to be working with a special needle, and we're going to be doing some needle felting. So if you have your kit and you want to craft along with us, or if you just want to watch and hang out and enjoy the process, you can always pick up a kit from our online shop and make some later this week. So before we get started, we want to announce our winner from this past week's contest, where we asked you to send in photos of your carved pumpkins. And we did our draw this morning, and we are very happy to announce our winner this week is Evelyn. So congratulations, Evelyn. We'll be sending you a little needle felting kit with one of our cat ear molds and some special wool in some colors that you might not have yet. And so that also brings us to our prize for this week. So if you're joining us live, please introduce yourself in the chat. And that way you'll be entered into our draw that we'll be doing at the end of today's show. And you'll be eligible for this week's prize pack. So we always like to lead up to what's happening next week. So this week we'll be giving away some really special art papers. So if you've been to our jelly printing camp, you'll recognize this sort of art paper that we make, and we love to use this in our card making activities. So that's a little sneak peek at what we'll be making next week. We'll be having a card craft. So we'll be giving away some specialty one-of-a-kind papers that we've made at camp, and hopefully that'll get you set up for next week's craft. So please make sure you introduce yourself, and you'll be entered into the draw. And yeah, so we're ready to get started with our craft today. I'm so excited about this. We're going to switch over, here we go, to our new setup. So we actually have a little bit of a different setup today in the studio. Might not look a little different to you, but we've been working on getting everything a little more comfortable and a little more set up for our show. So I just want to introduce some of our sculptures. So of course we're going to be making the ears, but needle felting is a great craft for doing 3D sculptures. This is a little pumpkin I made just this past week. I was so pleased with it. And my sister was really good at needle felting too. I taught her how to make things, and she gifted me these adorable little creatures. You can put them into frames. They can be flat, they can be 3D. And you can use cookie cutters to make different shapes. So that's how we created these leaves. So if you don't have our special molds, you can just use cookie cutters. And the only thing to keep in mind with cookie cutters is that they're usually quite tall. You'll notice that our 3D printed shapes are only a centimeter tall. So that just helps you to not overfill your mold. So if you also have a 3D printer and you know how to create things, that's a great project for making custom shapes. So you can use this for a variety of decorations. They make just such lovely gifts as well. So I thought today we could do a little bit of last minute costuming, and the way I've designed the ears is they actually just clip into, well, my wig today, but they could clip into your hair. So we're just going to be using these little hair barrettes. You could also use a headband if you don't have these, but I like the clips because they are like, make it seamless. So it's like, you can't really tell how they're stuck to your head. It's like they've grown out of them organically. So what you'll need is your felting kit, any cookie cutter shapes you want to use, and of course we have our Band-Aid. So you'll want to make sure you have some Band-Aids handy, because it really is just a matter of time before you do poke yourself. And it's just kind of part of like working with sharp things, is like, it's just a little risky, and the more you work with it, the more confident you'll be, but it's always a good idea to have some Band-Aids handy in case you do draw some blood. Don't worry, once you poke yourself, you're part of the club. So we're going to be using some needle felting needles, and these are special needles. They're not like sewing needles. They have special barbs on them. I'll try to hold this a little closer to the camera so you can see. Not sure how well that's showing up, but if you look closely at your needle, there's like these little barbs in them. And that's what does all the work in felting. So they kind of grab the fibers and they push and pull them together and cause them to compact. So this pumpkin that I made is actually super, super dense. Like I'm pushing on it and there's no squish left. So this is a very well felted pumpkin. And the goal with felting is always to try to get as much squish as possible. And because that way it attracts the dust less. That's a tricky mouthful. So it means that when you pull on it, you shouldn't really see any fibers coming loose, and that's how you know it's well felted. So try to felt it long enough to get like all the squish out, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the goal. Let's check in and see who's signing in. So we have, oh, good morning, Anna and Sophie and Julian. Thanks for coming back and watching the show. And if anybody else is watching, please say hello. I'd like to see who's here with me today. And of course, we have Carissa in the chat. She's joining us from her home. Okay, so a couple more tools I want to point out before we get stabbing is our single needles, of course, are great to use for beginners, but you'll notice it takes quite a while to felt something with one needle. So then if you get really into this stuff and you want to upgrade your tools, this is a lovely tool. It holds 3 needles. So essentially you're felting 3 times as fast. And it's just more comfortable to hold because it's got a bigger handle for you to hold on to. So I love using this tool for doing sculptures. And if you end up doing larger pieces that are more flat, you might also want to check out some of the tools that hold 5 or more needles. So these are both Clover brand tools. They're really nicely made, and you can usually pick them up at your local craft store. So Michael's or Lens Mill, I've seen them there, or online as well. So those are just some upgrading tools if you get really into felting and you want to, make things go along faster. I also like to always have a sharp pair of scissors just for cutting things. We're going to be doing a little bit of sewing today as well. And finally, we have to have a mat or a sponge to work on because the needle needs somewhere to go. You can't work on your lap because the needle will, poke through into your body. You need some kind of sponge. So if you have our kit, you'll be using just a sponge. I have this bigger piece of foam I found, so it works well for larger pieces. And then I also have something I made. So I heard about people using rice sacks, and I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So I went ahead and sewed a sack out of burlap, and then I noticed that the burlap fibers were kind of coming out. So I just put a piece of fabric onto it, safety pinned it on. This is a piece of wool felt. And so this is just full of rice. And this actually works really well as a felting surface as well. So I tend to felt on my lap sometimes. So I'm sitting in a chair on the couch and I just like to have this on my lap, and it's thick enough so I don't end up poking through all the way. So this is a nice thing because it contours to the shape of your lap. So that's another option if you want to explore other things other than foam. And I have my little needle minder here. So this is just a felted heart that I've pinned down to my surface, and it just holds a couple sewing needles. So they're always ready to go when I'm doing my felting projects. Okay, so before we get started with the actual project, I also wanted to show you what sheep's wool looks like. So these are some samples of sheep's wool fresh off the sheep. So this one you can see it's kind of dirty. It's not been washed. So it still has that sheepy smell. Yep, still there. And so what you would do if you were able to get fresh sheep's wool, you could take this and just wash it with like a bit of mild detergent, dish soap, something like that, in like cold water. You don't want to agitate it too much because agitating will actually cause it to felt. That's another process called wet felting. But once it comes out of the wash bath, I guess you can see the difference in the color, right? So it goes from kind of dirty to more clean, but it's still got that natural crimp in it. So that's just how it grows on the sheep, that natural crimpy look. And then you could do one step further. You could actually dye it a different color. So this has been dyed blue. And then this little sample is actually the natural color of the sheep. So yes, sheep come in different colors, or their wool grows in different colors. So that's just a little preview of the material we're working with. Now, from when you buy it, like from the store, it comes pre-processed. So it'll come in these like nice combed out pieces called roving. Okay, so that's like it, all the hard work's been done for you when you buy it this way. If you ever want to go through the process from, you know, they call sheep to shoulder, when you go, you get the raw material and you process it and you end up like turning it into yarn and knitting with it. That's pretty cool to see all the steps. But we're gonna just work with the pre-processed stuff, and it comes, of course, dyed in many different colors as well. So this has been combed out, and it's ready to go. So we're going to be, of course, making the ears, and ears don't have to be brown or like natural colors. They can be fun colors. So I can't decide what colors I should be using, so maybe we can get some suggestions from you guys today what color ears I should make. I already have a brown pair because I have brown hair. I'm gonna make up probably like a fun color, and maybe I'll mix two of the colors together. So if anybody has a suggestion from my bin here, what two colors I should blend together, let me know, and I will use those on our project. Blue to match my wig. Great. Yes, I think I will mix a couple different blues and we'll show you how that looks together. And of course, the project that we make in our summer kit and our essentials kit is the pin cushion. So I also have my pin cushion handy today. I just wanted to show him off because he's so friendly. So this holding my awl from my bookbinding, my felting needles, my sewing needles, and my pins for sewing. So this is a great handy project. It's like kind of the next step when you do your beginner. You're going to move on to like making a pin cushion. So we have a specialty mold today we'll be using. This has been 3D printed. If you have our kit and you only have the heart, you can actually still use it because it's pretty much a similar shape to the ear. You just want to focus your wool, like you won't put it into the bumpy parts. So you can follow along with us using the heart mold. Okay, I'm going to grab 2 colors of blue, and I want to do a little bit of blending because you guys might want to do that to create a more interesting look. When you pull the wool off, you want to have your hand like this, like this, and you would just want to grab it and pull. Okay, when you pull, whatever breaks off, that's called the staple length. So that's like the natural length of the sheep's hair. And so yeah, that's kind of the amount you want to start with. Just kind of pull off one section of every color. You don't want to start with too much wool. And if you're trying to pull it and it's not breaking, it just means your hands are too close together. So just put your hands further apart and pull. Okay, that's the trick. You don't really want to use scissors because it kind of blunts the fibers. So now that I have my 2 pieces, I'm just going to, again, pull them apart and put them back together. Ooh, these colors are going to look really good. Great suggestion. Thank you. When there's so many choices, I have a hard time deciding. So I'm just pulling and then stacking it back up and pulling again until it gets like this blended look. So it's subtle, but it kind of makes a nice effect. If you had 2 like more contrasting colors, that would look cool too. Actually, it'd be neat to do one to match like my coat here, my I guess this is leopard print. Be cool to do spotted ears too. So this might be enough to do 2 ears. We'll see. I'm going to start with about half of my fiber and put the rest to the side. And then I will take this much and just kind of smush it into the mold. So in your kit, you actually get 2 different sizes of needles. And so they do come in different sizes because well, the blue one that we've marked is actually the larger needle, so it's more aggressive. It's a faster working needle. And the silver one is the smaller size. So you could actually use either one. I'll use the blue just because we want it to felt a little bit faster. And I like to hold it between my thumb and my middle finger, and then my peer pointer just kind of rests on top. And I'll be doing an up and down stabbing motion. So you don't need to stab too deep into the foam. You're just trying to get past the wool. Kind of like you don't need to go too deep into the sponge. And then as it starts to get tacked down, you can kind of pull the edges in. And you'll hear that crunching sound. So this is This is where I kind of like start to calm down and get into the flow. Pretty therapeutic, relaxing. Dabbing things is good for stress relief. If you're feeling anxious or just need something to keep your hands busy, this is a wonderful activity. Now, of course, you can't do this while you're watching TV because you always need your eyes on your work. But I love to listen to audiobooks or podcasts or music when I felt. So look how quickly all of that fiber got pushed down into my mold. Once it's kind of pushed down like that much, it's not popping out anymore, you can take your mold away and you'll notice that it is stuck to the foam. So you don't want to stab too long on one side. You want to peel it up and you're going to flip it over so that we're working both sides of the fiber. And then you put it back into your mold and just keep stabbing. So at this point, you could also add more fiber. So it's all about like adding it in layers. You don't want to start with too much fiber. If you guys are crafting along at home, let me know what colors you're using, what color your ears are going to be, or if you're going to be making something other than an ear. We want to see what you're making, so please make sure you send us your photos as well. Always keep your fingers sort of out of the way and keep your eyes on your work. I also want to know what you guys are dressing up as today. Are you going to wear your ears, or do you have already a costume planned? What you're going to be doing later today? I'm actually going to be at an event over at Max's Sports World. So I was there all day yesterday getting set up, and we have a really big pumpkin installation set up for you to come and check out and get your photo taken in. And I will also be doing some live pumpkin carving on site. So if you've got your ticket, it's a free ticket. You can sign up on Max's Sports World on Facebook or on their website. They have a link to where you can get your tickets. And I believe it's happening between 2 and 6 p.m. So there's probably still slots available. If you don't have any plans, you can come and see us. But yeah, they're going to have candy shoots, and my friend Drew is going to be doing a balloon show that I'm very excited to see. So lots of fun stuff happening. Of course, it's outside and everyone will be wearing their masks, and there's timed entries, so it's limited attendance. Ooh, Julian is working on gray wolf ears, and he's gonna be glow in the dark stick man. That's cool. Is that like he's got black clothing and you've kind of like mapped out glow in the dark tape on him? Like, how does, did you make it? Did you buy it? I also like the wolf ears. Kind of on theme with Harry Potter too. You could be Lupin, right? Sophie's going to be the werewolf Winter from zombie movies. Ooh, excellent. That sounds spooky, Sophie. I can't wait to see photos. Halloween's always my favorite time of year. Hang up. Neon string lights, really cool. Oh, so you'll be glowing. That's great. Smart idea. Actually, like, you can get all sorts of cool, like, battery-powered glowing things these days. Makes it really easy to make impressive costumes. Okay, so I've added a couple layers and I've started kind of flip-flopping it. At this point, you want to just start feeling your felt. You want to pinch it and feel for any low spots, so any spots that are thinner. You could also hold it up to the light and you could see if any spots are shining through. That way you can see what parts need more wool. But I would add maybe one more layer before I take my mold away. So Julian and Sophie, is this your first felting project? Have you tried it before? I don't remember the first thing I ever felted. I think it was probably in school because I actually learned how to felt when I was in art school at OCAD. Took a course. And that's actually where this sheep's wool came from. I have this still from when I was in school. I've been saving it. There were some samples that we were working with. This is their first time needle felting. They need the live motivation. Hey, well, that's why we do the show, so that you guys have a time to come and get your craft supplies ready and just craft along with me. That's exactly why we're doing this. Don't worry if you can't join us live, if you're watching this after our broadcast. We hope you're using this as an opportunity to finally sit down and make some time in your busy schedule to just enjoy some craft time, because it's so important to have time to relax and try something creative. I hope the parents are trying the crafts as well, and it's giving you some joy. Excellent. Okay, my mold's getting pretty full. Feel like it's a good time to take the mold away. So at some point you will be able to take the mold away, and then we start to refine the fuzzy edges because we want them to be nice and smooth and well felted. And so far we've been doing our needle motions up and down, so vertically. Now we're going to be a little riskier. We're going to be poking sideways. And so we're going to be, basically moving our needle this way. And that's more likely when you're going to poke yourself. So just watch out for that and go slow at the start. So I'm just kind of pushing the fuzzy fibers from the edge into the middle. But you don't want to just do sideways poking. You also want to do your up and down in combination, so that you end up with a nice, smooth, evenly felted piece. Because if you poke from one area too long, it makes like a weird groove, and you want it to be felted like equally on all sides. Even though it is a flat object, there still is like technically an edge here, right? So just work your way around. Get into the flow. The nice thing about using the molds is that you can make two things that are the exact same size. This is a great craft for getting together with friends over online, because you could actually just do a little hangout over your favorite streaming, your favorite video software, and you could just hang out, chat, felt. If you can't be together, you could be together online, making craft together. So you'll see everything starting to move in, get a little tidier looking. That's the goal. And of course, I want to flip it and work the other side as well. I haven't stabbed myself yet, but I say yet because it could happen still. I let my guard down. This is getting close, but again, just check for squishiness. And really, it's your project. So, you know, whenever you feel like it's done, and call it done. I like to talk about felting like as like I like to compare it to a steak because when you cook a steak, it gets more, it goes through stages. So, of course, when it's raw, it's unfelted. So, this is our raw wool. And when we're poking it, we're cooking it. So, we want to get to that well done stage where it's been cooked a long time. And I'm not a chef, but I believe the way they test doneness of a steak is like by poking it and seeing how squishy it is. And if anybody has heard of that, let me know if I'm way off. But that's what I heard somewhere. So I like to talk about it that way. Go. Anna likes the analogy. Thank you. I just get kind of lost in my felting. If you notice that you have, so some people notice they can see the poke marks and they're quite visible. It just means that you have to keep poking it. Especially if you've just added a new layer on top and you're like, why am I seeing all these poke marks? It just means that you have to keep poking that fresh layer down to the same level as the one that, as like the layer that's underneath. So this means it's not as compacted. So just keep poking. You could also switch your needle size. Really, you want to change it when you start to feel like it's getting harder to poke, when there's like a lot of resistance. That's when it's kind of time to change needles, or if you want to get things really, really dense. But for something like this, one needle size would be fine. All right. So I'm going to show you guys how now to add like that little detail, like the little triangle. So I'll just take a different color and I'll probably use black. I'll just take a little bit of my black fiber, and you won't need much for this because it's just going to be a little surface layer. And I'll just try to fold it down so it's like about the size I want it. Kind of bundle it up, place it down on top of your ear, and then you can take your needle. If you're worried that your fingers are so close, you can take your just a regular sewing pin. These are the ones that come in our sewing kit, and you can kind of park it in there, and that way your needle, your fingers don't need to be so close. That kind of, yeah, just pins it down. And now you're going to just take your needle and start to get that felted on top. So if you notice like fluffies on the edge, I like to just kind of pull them towards the center, kind of fold them in, and then you'll get like a nice clean line. Tame the fuzzies. Once it's tacked in, you can take the needle away or you can move it. Not in your way. Yeah, looking pretty cute. Oh, Anna, are you guys going to be doing any trick-or-treating, or there like your neighborhood has planned anything special this year for doing COVID safe activities? Yeah. This is a quick little project too. Even with all my talking, I've got one ear done in probably about 15-20 minutes. So definitely doable within the hour. Still have to do a bit of sewing. Oh, you're going to do a little self-serve treat table. That's a great idea. We don't get any kids to our house because we live in like a weird area. So, but we're doing this event today over at Max's. Yeah, you got a quiet neighborhood. Well, that just means the leftover candy gets to stay at home, right? At least you tried. Okay, so once you're happy with how everything's looking, you can move on to, of course, creating your second ear, or if you want to change it up and start sewing your clips on, I'll move ahead and show you how I like to do that. So I'm going to be using thread. Now I'm going to use red just so it shows up better on camera, but you'll probably want to use thread that matches your wool. And you're going to be taking wingspan. So wingspan is when you stretch out both of your arms. That's the length that we need for sewing. Snip it off. I like to use wingspan because we end up doubling up our thread, and that way you don't run out in the middle of your project, which is very annoying. So just take a needle that is sharp and that you can get the thread through the eye. We like to use a needle called chenille, and I believe we use a chenille 22, something around there. The number just means like the size of the needle. And chenille needles are great for learning because the eye is larger, but the point is still very sharp. So if you are a beginner sewer or you just have trouble getting the thread through, that's the type I recommend. And DMC is a brand. They seen them at Michael's and Lens Mill. That's where I've picked up my chenille needles in the past. And okay, so we've got our thread, got our ear, we need our hair clip. And these are just barrettes from the dollar store. You can open it up. I like to have it opened. Actually, you could have it either way, opened or closed. So you'll want to kind of pinch it between your hands like this, and then needle and thread in your other hand. And we're gonna be sewing in these little slots. So it is easier when it's closed. You don't want to sew through the middle one because of course then you won't be able to open it. So we're just going to be sewing sort of in the larger triangle to secure it. And I do recommend that you sew it and not hot glue it because the hot glue kind of wrecks the felt. It's messy. You can't really undo it. You'd have to cut it out if you make a mistake. And hot glue doesn't stick to metal all that well because it just like the metal doesn't have any pores for it to like stick into. It might work temporarily, but sewing is really your best bet. And to start, I'm actually going to make a little starting stitch. So that just means the needle's going through a bit of the felt. And we're going to pull it. And then you wait. You want to stop before you get to the knot because you're looking for this little loop. Because we've doubled our thread, you can actually pull the thread apart and then you have this little loop and you just put your needle through it. And now you can pull. Okay, and now I can tug on this quite firmly and it's not popping out. So that's always how I start a sewing project. And snip the little tail shorter. Called my anchor stitch or my starting stitch. And that secures the thread to your work. Okay, now I can put the clip back on and we're going to be stitching through felt and through clip. So we're going to do a little bit of a whip stitch. So now I'm going back into the felt and up through clip. And the smaller your stitches and the closer together, the more secure this will end up being. And of course, if you have matching thread, you don't need to worry about it showing too much. You could actually always, we could go back and needle felt over top of the thread too, and that'll hide it. So you're scooping up a little bit of the felt. I'm probably going to end up doing about 10 stitches per side. I feel like that's going to Carissa, I want to know what costume you're going to dress up as today. So it's getting trickier to sew close to the tip, so I might open it up a bit. It's the last day of October. Can't believe it. This morning, when I got up, looked out the window, and all of the leaves were falling, and there was like a frost over all the grass. And it was just like this kind of magical sort of scene. And yeah, the leaves were just coming off my trees, like just really slowly, like it was like almost like snowing leaves. Quite beautiful. And probably by the end of the day today, all my leaves might be gone. You guys play in the leaves? Do you rake them? Do you mulch them? We just drive over them with our mowing tractor, and then that way the leaves get mulched up and go back into the earth. Good fertilizer, good nutrients. See, Krissa hasn't decided. Ooh, last minute indeed. And I dressed up as a minion at school. Oh. Yes, you need a costume change for today. A witch is always a good default if you own a lot of black clothing. But yeah, you could probably make a hat out of some paper really quick. Maybe you can just make some ears. Face paint, when you're in doubt, just do the makeup, right? Crazy with the makeup. All right, so almost at the end of my stitching. You can kind of see my progress here. Stitch we've been doing is called a whip stitch, if you're curious. You want to test it out before you end it off. Make sure it's super secure. That's pretty secure. It's not wiggling too much. And we can do an ending stitch. Black cat, that's a great suggestion. Yeah. Black clothes, black ears. Classic Halloween costumes. Okay, so to end it, it's similar to how you started. You're just going to take your needle wherever you've ended it. Going to just put your needle in and out. So you're scooping up the fiber, pulling it slowly until you have that loop. Okay, and then you go through the loop. And this should make a knot. And if you're not sure, you can always do a second one. It's really important that you actually make a knot when you end it. Otherwise, all that hard work will come undone when you're using it, right? So I like to do two. Oh no, you just got rid of your black Bristol board. Darn. Wasn't meant to be. Every time I get rid of craft supplies, I need them like the next week. Like kind of a curse. Oh, you don't have any wool, Carissa. Oh no. I can leave some for you in my mailbox if you want to come over. Okay, and now I'm ready to snip it because I did my knots. And there we go. There's our finished ear. So I could have, ooh, a horn. Yeah, you could do this a single one and it could be maybe like a horn. Here we go. There's my finished ear. So that didn't take too long at all. We have some extra time in our show. So what I was thinking is I would show you guys how we could make a donut. So this is a donut that I made. And you'll notice that there's a hole in it. So I can show you how you can just use some household materials. So I actually have to grab some. 1 second, be right back. Okay, so what we're gonna be doing is using a roll of tape and a spool of thread. And this ends up being a nice size for making a little homemade mold. Alien cat, yes. I am from planet, I don't know what planet my name is. What planet am I from? Space cat, that's a pretty good costume. Okay, so if you do want to make some more, if you're really into this, you want to keep felting, you have the supplies, you can make a donut too. And whenever we create something that's a little bit larger, like a thicker sculpture that requires more wool, and you only have a little bit of color, you can start with your white wool or your core wool. So whatever wool you have the most of, that's the wool that you'll be using as your base. So again, you can just pull off some pieces. And then we're going to like lay them into our mold here. Planet whiskers. Love it. Okay, and then I'll just take some more and I'll just keep laying it into my mold here. Of course, I don't want to fill it up all the way because this roll of tape's pretty tall. You want to keep in mind that you're not going to be filling it all the way. This is just a little shape to help guide it as you go. Once you put some wool in, remember we're doing it in layers and in stages. You can always add more later too. You're gonna just start poking that down. I would say if this is your first time felting, the ears or the hearts are a great starter. And then the next thing you might want to try is the donut because you start to get building up a thicker shape. And then of course our cactus pincushion is a great third project because it's quite a bit bigger and it is more 3D. You want to start simple so that you build up your skills and your confidence. Yeah, donuts. Halloween's all about the treats, right? So donuts are definitely on theme today. But this one needs some sprinkles. It's got the jelly glaze, but I might sew on some beads. I like to add a little embellishments. So you can see what else you can do with felting projects is you can do some embroidery and you could do some beadwork. So you can sew little brooch pins, and so I would wear this. Yeah, this one has a brooch too. This one's kind of like a Valentine's theme, like the candy hearts with the words. So lots of things you can do. These make great ornaments too. So right, Christmas is coming, right? And might want to get a head start on some Christmas ornaments or gifts. These ones are flat enough that you could stick them in like the mail. You could mail it with just probably a stamp. Planet Big Meow. Am I saying that right? Big? Sounds like Julian's suggestion. All right, I've poked my my wool down. I'm gonna add another layer. I want it to be thick. Yes, if you are watching and have not said hello in the chat, please do, because you'll be entered into our giveaway at the end of the show today. We don't know who's watching unless you say hello. Hi, Julian. Can't wait to see your finished ears. All right. Okay. I'm gonna actually take this apart and show you my progress. Ooh, you know what? I'm gonna switch over to my, you guys can't see that very well. I'm gonna stack up my rice mat so you can see my donut. There we go. So it's a very fluffy donut, but there's enough fiber there to, I might put this one back in. Just keep the middle one and then just start working the other side. And so because I'm making a bigger sculpture, this is where like having this 3 needle tool really comes in handy. because it felts it way faster. Of course, you want to make sure you're not hitting the spool because that could break your needles. So I'm just kind of going just outside of it for now until I take it away. Now I can start to felt and refine the shape on the end. How's it going, Julian? How far have you come with your ears? How many have you finished? Okay, I'm going to switch back to a single needle. But as you start to work on bigger projects, just keep in mind it is going to take longer. The ears and the hearts are great little ones you can do within a half an hour, but if you're going to be doing a bigger project, just keep in mind you do have to spend more time poking because there is more material there to work with. So it's okay to take breaks and come back to it whenever you feel like you want to work on it. I think I made this pumpkin over 3 sittings. I started it on a Zoom call and I was just working away while I was paying attention. And then I was working on it. Yeah, a couple more sessions. I don't like to poke for more than a couple hours because then your wrist starts to hurt. You want to be kind to your body and not work too long because then you could start to get injured, right? Making things can be hard on your body, so you want to pay attention to that. I'm going to be doing that pumpkin carving outside today, so I'm going to have to be bundled up extra warm. I know my hands are going to be cold. Make sure I take some breaks. Oh, Julian's on the 2nd year. Fantastic. Way to go. I'm starting to work the edges into my donut. Tame the fluffiness. Really, the goal of needle felting is just to keep felting it all directions evenly. Keep your needle moving. Don't stay in one spot too long. You'll start to get a feel for it and you'll start to like kind of understand how the material moves. Yes, good tips for mindful making. Don't be in a rush. Rushing is when you hurt yourself. More likely to hurt yourself. That's whenever I've injured myself, it's because I was rushing. Or I was tired. I wasn't paying attention. Of course, we do learn from our mistakes, right? I also like nail felting a lot because it's pretty portable. Doesn't take up a lot of room. You can get the vacuum bags, and so you have extra wool you want to store. Always seal it into or zip top bag and push all the air out. Travels well. Definitely one of our more popular activities with kids and with adults. So we have a larger needle felting kit that we're getting ready. We've got some new colors. So colors that don't come in our essentials kit, we'll be making those available soon. So maybe a good idea for Christmas presents and or if you want to get some to make gifts. We hope to have those ready within the next couple of weeks. So larger quantities in different colors. So that'll be something to look forward to. You really, really love this, check that out. Felting feels like a magical transformation. It really is. I like to say, like, you're the boss and you're the one who's like in control of the wool. You're pushing it around. So you're kind of like a wizard. You are transfiguring the wool into other shapes. And wool is also a magical material because it doesn't hold on to like bacteria. So if you have any clothing made out of wool, like a shirt, for example, I love my merino wool shirts because I can wear them all day and sweat and they don't smell. So I don't have to wash them very often because the wool doesn't like hold the bacteria. Whereas if you were wearing like a polyester shirt, that does. They tend to get stinky really quickly. So another reason why I love wool. I love to wear it, keeps you warm, also helps like regulate your body temperature. So you could wear wool even in the summertime and it would help to keep you cool too. Oh, this is starting to shape up. I would say I probably have another maybe a half hour of poking left to really get it to like be firm. And of course I'm using my coarse needle, the blue one. It is the faster working needle. But once you've established the shape, then we can go over top with the colored wool to start to dress it up. So we're going to be doing a technique where you're just adding a layer of color like right on top. So you want to make sure that you do have enough of the color to cover everything. And then we're going to be going for a dark chocolate donut today because I have my dark brown wool. I might start to get a variety pack going on here. Maybe eventually I'll make a dozen. That's a lot of work though. Hello, Sophie. Are you guys on two different screens? Oh, are you coming to the Monster Mash? Wonderful. Oh, I can't wait to see you. That's great. Yay. I hope to see some other kids, some other campers come out. Right. Haven't seen everybody in so long. Okay, so this isn't quite at the well done stage, but I'm going to go ahead and do the step to show you guys how you would cover it. So you're just pulling off little pieces. You're colored. Oh, Chris is coming too at 2. Fantastic. We'll see you then. If you want, I can bring you some wool. Let me know. You can make your last minute ears, Carissa. So you're just going to lay on top, and you can switch to the silver needle if you want. You don't have to. So the finer needles are more for surface details. It just means it doesn't push the wool around as much. You can see I'm just adding a layer, and I'm just trying to cover up all of the white, but we're going to be doing it in thin layers. Just enough to cover inside. And I just like to work it in little pieces, so it's not too overwhelming. And we are getting close to the end of our show, so Carissa, if you want to get ready for our prize draw, and pull that name now. Roll. God, this is looking like a hairy donut. Not too appetizing right now. So just a heads up for next week, if you guys are going to be crafting along with us, before all the leaves disappear off your trees and off of your lawn, make sure you scoop up some of those leaves because we're going to be using them next week's craft. I've been saving leaves when I take my dog for a walk. If I see a pretty leaf on the ground, I'll pick it up, take it home, press it in a big book under some weight, and you guys are going to get to see my collection next week. But if you're out and about, see a leaf, grab it, take it home. Make sure you put it under like some heavy books right away, because if you don't, it'll end up drying out and like kind of curl up and won't be as good for crafting with. We want them nice and flat for our art activity. Okay. Switch over to my faster needle. There you go. So you kind of get the idea. It is pretty hairy. You do have to spend time poking all the fibers in. But eventually you will get a really cool looking shape. Ooh, we've got our winner draw ready. Who's it gonna be? Our winner today is Sophie. Oh, congratulations, Sophie. So you've won the prize pack for our craft for next week. So that is the jelly prints and the papers for making cards. So we'll make sure we get that out to you in time for next week's show. Okay, and if you are tuning in after the broadcast, don't forget you have a chance to win our prize pack as well. All you have to do is send us a picture of what you've made with us this week. So your felting creations. Send us a picture either on our website or tag us at, here we go, at Mindful Makers if you use social media. And I just want to take a minute to thank everyone for watching our live stream today and crafting along with us. I hope this little special Saturday morning time brings you a lot of joy and gets you kind of kick-started for a creative weekend of relaxing and trying something new. And yeah, so I just want to wish everyone a very happy Halloween and be safe out there. And please, if you're coming out to the event, make sure you say hi. And yeah, we'll have something special for you if you come out today and see us. So again, thank you once again and happy Halloween, everyone. We'll see you on the show next week. Take care. Bye.